Hello, Margaret Coolman here, Soul Astrology. The striking thing about this new moon is that it is a total eclipse, and that the eclipse shadow crosses the whole of America. So it's a very important eclipse for Americans. But actually, of course, any eclipse is important for all of us. Any planet that you have which is squared or opposed or conjunct this eclipse is liable to be challenged. So that aspect of your character will be under pressure. And the pressure is coming from Libra, so it's about how we relate, not just to each other, but to everything, our actual process of relating. What do we mean by it? It's about balance, because any relationship is the one who is relating to that which they are relating to. And in this case, the eclipse is on the South Node. So it speaks of the past. It's how we have related up till now. There's all kinds of memory and our own past lives, but also early this life. And we can't escape from it because Mercury is exactly the other side of the eclipse from the South Node. Consciousness and communication are about this. Exactly opposite to the Mercury is Chiron in Aries. So the dilemma that there always exists between Aries and Libra, that is me and you, how much for me and how much do I have to give you, is in the spotlight. And that which is liable to show up is the particular damage that has happened to the individual. Chiron represents such a wound, a fatal wound. If one knows one is immortal, one maybe just staggers on, wounded, getting larger than the pain throughout life. But if one doesn't know one's immortal, then out of the pain that Chiron represents, we are liable to try to deal out pain to others. It's a form of survival reaction. If one is not regarding the history of situations, when one who is hurt hurts back, it's seen as retaliation. But that would be a measured, chosen thing. And I rather think that a lot of the damage that a wounded person inflicts is an instinctive survival reaction. And of course, there are two viewpoints here. There are always at least two viewpoints in the world of duality. But in fact, I think there are millions. We all have our own. The important thing, if we're aiming to produce fine Libra, is to listen to as many sides as present themselves. And one can only really listen like that if one is centered. The point about the scales, the weighing and balancing scales, is that the balance is around a fulcrum, and the fulcrum needs to be within. The balance is not in apportioning right to every viewpoint, but giving space, time, respect, attention to everything equally. Libra is not about making judgments. It's about receiving all the information that is required to see the most appropriate way forward and as much harmony as possible. The feeling in Libra is that there must be a right way. And if I can't see it, I don't know enough yet. So let me find out more. And then there are other characteristics of Libra. When it seems too much to delve that deep into everything, all the information, it's too much. So the gliding along the surface, taking care not to stir anything up in case it rises to one's attention, and the smooth surface to be maintained sometimes to be maintained at all costs. This is where you find hypocrisy, when people express with a sincere-looking face all the things that the diplomat would express, but not coming from a centered place. It isn't real underneath the surface, whereas the diplomat comes from the center. Diplomacy is dealing in truth. Hypocrisy is dealing in a way that looks exactly the same from outside when cleverly performed, but it's completely ego-based for the survival and comfort of the perpetrator. So recognizing the difference takes sensitivity, and sometimes it's very clear. Mars has reached Scorpio in this chart, having had to square Pluto to get there. Mars being action, competition, the drive to survival and comfort, diving deep into the truth of things, deep below the surface, so that others may not suspect what's actually going on down there. We are all having our depths kind of tweaked. So there's no way that the Libran surface is going to remain smooth. And Mars, in the beginning of Scorpio, makes a perfect trine to Saturn. Still retrograde, still perhaps wisdom that comes from the past, but perhaps in a more reactive state. Saturn in Pisces can be the shifting of rules this way and that, and with Mars driving them, these rules could be quite intensely affecting. Actually, the first thing that struck me about this chart was that Pluto, Neptune and Uranus, that I was referring to before as the great guides in cahoots with each other, are not very involved in this chart, or the chart of the full moon. The square to Mars, yes, but Neptune is not directly connecting to the personal planets, that's us. So this could feel quite a dark time, as if the angels are looking the other way, letting humanity do its worst, so that we all get to see what's there. The quincunx from the Sun to Uranus, the brown line, looks to me like a hopeful suggestion that we are able to maintain a certain detachment. And as Libra is ruled by Venus, and Venus here is opposite Saturn, perhaps galvanized by events, and then moving towards a trine to Jupiter where a lot of helpful generosity can come forwards. The full moon chart has the Sun, Mercury and Mars very definitely in Scorpio, pointing their energy at the Moon and Jupiter in Taurus. Working at its best, that would look to me like practical generosity and sensitivity to the facts of things, responding to what is thrown up from the depths by Mercury Mars in Scorpio. That is, the energy of the depths being given voice. Venus well into Virgo, love in action, the action of service, being careful, picking apart the rubble, finding what's useful and what isn't, and above all, expressing love in useful ways. Trining Uranus, absolutely ready on the sidelines to leap in with the angels when called for. And this is that beautiful triangle of guidance that I see being pulled into our reach. During the second part of the month, Venus will oppose Neptune and trine Pluto. So where there will have been a darker time, I feel as though the light will be coming back through the month. Now, these are the planets, but we are more than just our personality. So for us, it is always possible to connect with that distant guidance. It isn't distant at all. It's a matter of what one's focusing on. The guidance is always available, and we always have the ability to connect to it. This is a very good time for prayer, meditation, and enjoying every bit of life that you can. More joy, more light. We can do it, and it's needed. Jupiter will go direct again after its 4-month retrograde at the end of December. So in a way we have time. While Jupiter's retrograde, plans don't unfold that fast. We have time to reorganize, regroup, do the inner work so that we're fully prepared when action is called for. The waterlily grows its roots in the bottom of the pond where all the dead stuff has fallen, and up its strong, straight stem it draws nutrients to open its beautiful flower on the surface. There is no need for us to identify purely with the sediment at the bottom of the pond. Let your spine be the straight stem, and your head and heart open to the sun. Thank you. Where are you at war with yourself? Why? What do you gain from this? What tethers you to your past? And what do you really, deeply want? When did you last gift yourself? And did you thank yourself at the time? Give and receive is balance. All is love.